there's a lot of positive things to say about Todd Blanche.
And you are confident that he will uphold the Constitution with the upcoming elections? There are Democrats saying he may not.
Well, of course, there's always this existential anxiety.
Yes.
But I am as confident as you can be about the future. You are.
Yeah.
I cannot predict the future, and this is not a black or white decision, but I'm confident on that. I do solemnly swear.
I do solemnly swear.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation.
Without any mental reservation.
Or purpose of evasion.
Or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Yay!
Moments ago, Todd Blanche was greeted by DOJ staffers shortly after he was sworn in as Attorney General. There he is, getting out of his SUV. And those are the cheers among DOJ staffers at the DOJ building in Washington, D.C. You can see some handshakes as well. He was sworn in by another former Trump attorney and current sitting judge, Emil Bove.
If the midterms don't go Trump's way this fall, is there any world in which Todd Blanche stands up to Trump if he's asked to find some fake evidence of voter fraud? Or are we screwed now?
We're screwed.
Great. That's what I suspected.
The scary thing here is that as a matter of authority, very little has changed because of this vote. Todd Blanche was the Deputy Attorney General, Acting Attorney General, and could have continued as the Acting Attorney General for the rest of the term. But as a practical matter, that may not change much. But what this essentially does is endorse a constitutional theory that the Department of Justice is Donald Trump, that the norms of separation no longer apply. And you heard an exchange when Todd Blanche was before Congress with Senator Coons, who asked him whether he would maintain any independence of the Justice Department. And he said that Article 2 of the Constitution gives Donald Trump the authority of the executive branch, period, full stop. That is the unitary executive theory. And the idea here is that Congress created the Department of Justice in 1870. Congress can define the scope of its authority. Congress can fund its appropriations. This is a novel theory, but it is one that has a lot of power.
I wonder if that's a real possibility, Scott. Do you see that as a real possibility, that people won't have a spine, they won't stand up to this, and they'll see their own political prospects? They'll put their own political prospects in power above rule of law and democracy.
A lot of local election officials are much more prepared for the next wave of disinformation. They dealt with it 6 years ago. They're ready for lots of different peculiar arguments from Trump, and they're ready for Trump to sow seeds of distrust before the election, on election day, and after. They have attorneys who are more prepared. The discrediting of Trump to judges shouldn't go understated. Him bringing Todd Blanche to make arguments to the courts about election fraud now, it's going to be even harder than it was 6 years ago when it was rushed out of court. Bringing these things to court and standing by them, it's like giving kids carrots and lima beans for dessert. You can try it. It's just not going to go over well. It's not going to land. It's not going to work.
Yeah, well, there's that. There's also the what could happen if they just don't want to accept it, and whether another January 6th might be possible.
This is the primal scream of a dying regime. Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people. You're just not got a free shot at all these networks lying about the people. The people have had a belly full of it. I know you don't like hearing that. I know you try to do everything in the world to stop that, but you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen.
And where do people like that go to share the big lie? MAGA media. I wish, in my soul, I wish that any of these people had a conscience.
Ask yourself, what is my task and what is my purpose? If that answer is to save my country, this country will be saved.
War Room.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Monday, 10 August in the year of Lord 2026. Welcome. Thank you for joining us for the afternoon and early evening edition of the War Room. Matt Boyle is going to join us for the entire 6 o'clock hour. Matt is over in Greece, but got a lot we're going to talk about regarding Iran, Israel, Turkey, Greece, Ukraine, the war. Also, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about and analyzing domestic politics in the run-up to the midterm elections. Todd Blanche, you just saw about Todd Blanche, now Attorney General of the United States. Cleta Mitchell joins us. Cleta, I wanted to have you on for getting an update on all this, but then Talking Points memo and some of the more important publications on the left have been picking on my Cleta pretty hard. You're living rent-free in their head, but we're going to get to all that in a little while. Talk to me about John Solomon's task force, the information that's come out on election integrity, the issue still down in Fulton County with the ballots, Maricopa County, the Chinese Communist Party, everything's been exposed. Todd now is in permanently. There'll be just naturally that he's not interim. There'll be some reorganization into the DAG, the PDAG. The White House just had a huge move over the weekend to coincide with this. Will Scharf is now going to be the White House counsel. Put all this in perspective, the legal, and where people want to know where in the hell do we stand with accountability and enforcing of what happened in the 2020 election and everything that came from that, and how we're going to protect ourselves since the Senate just slapped us in the face and left for 6 weeks vacation, how we're going to deal with this November. With that, ma'am, the floor is yours.
Well, it's a lot, Steve. I mean, I would say what John Solomon is doing is nothing short of phenomenal and a game changer, because he in his work with the task force in the White House, they're putting out the documentation. They're bringing the receipts, as people say, to show that the 2020 election was, in fact, not the most secure election in the history of the country, and showing the Chinese involvement and the involvement by Iran and other adversaries to the United States. And then we saw just last week about the guy who downloaded over 600,000 voter files in Maricopa County. And then last Friday, I spoke with, that was posted early, first thing Friday morning. And I spoke to a number of the people that I work with in Arizona, the election integrity leaders, and they're getting ready to file open records requests because it would appear that the Board of Supervisors, and remember, Adrian Fontes was the Maricopa County recorder at the time of the 2020 election. He's now the Secretary of State, and they believe very strongly that he lied to the people of Arizona and Maricopa County at the time when this was first when it was first known about this hacking. And so we have all this evidence of things that went wrong. We have that. We know that everything that the Election Integrity Network, our volunteers, and the American people themselves, everything we thought was true has been proving day by day to be true. Now, notwithstanding that, so that part of it is going well. My concern is, what is the administration doing about each one of these revelations? And I frankly don't know what all they're doing. I can say some things they ought to be doing. I know that the Department of Homeland Security does have legal authority to act, and they've taken some steps. I want them to take more steps. The Department of Commerce, Howard.
Hold it, hang on. Slow down. I want people to fully understand this. What you're saying is that, hey, Steve, I know we're beating on the Center for the Save America Act. I know you and Wayne Allen Root and Peter Tinkin and others are banging on the drum that if we don't get that, we need a national security emergency memo written immediately. You're saying something quite different. You're saying, hey, look, I love that. I love that. Think it. However, there's enough things in law already that DHS and Commerce have a massive amount of power they could use now. And they don't need any authorizations. They've got the authorization. Right. Let's break that down. This is what the audience needs 100%. To hear. What does DHS have as their ability to do things, and what does Commerce have?
Well, just remember that when Jay Johnson, Obama's Secretary of Homeland Security, In January of 2017, on his way out the door, the Obama administration, through Jay Johnson, issued a declaration, a memorandum. I don't even really know the exact wording or legal terminology that they relied upon, but they declared and determined that elections writ large, not just one part of the elections, not just voting machines, elections are critical infrastructure, period. That means the Department of Homeland Security and its secretary have a great deal of statutory authority to take mitigating steps if there is identified a threat to a vulnerability to elections, because elections are critical infrastructure. So Markwayne Mullin is sitting there with all kinds of legal authority to be able to address the voting machines, to say and to tell Commerce, okay, now this vulnerability has been established, and here are the 5 things you need to do to make sure that the voting machines that are used in this fall's elections are not compromised, and that in fact that they're
hang on, slow down for a second. Markwayne Mullin, didn't he go and have a press conference? President Trump on that Thursday addressed the nation, and even myself, who's pretty grounded in this material, I was stunned by some of the new revelations. It was kind of jaw-dropping, and particularly since we beat the drum on the anti-CCP thing all the time, to know that they had 270 million or 250 million voter files, and they weren't purchased. They were hacked by one of the most advanced cyber groups that they have. To know that, Markwayne Mullin the next day came out and went to a whole litany of things he was going to do. Do you think that he's focused on that? Is that actually getting done, or is that just to pat people on the head and say, oh, we hope you feel better because, this is all about optics? Or do you actually think, given the punch list he gave us, is that the right punch list, and is he getting those things done, ma'am?
Well, I think that it is the right punch list, but I think there's more. And I think there's more that they're not talking about. And the thing I keep saying to anyone and everyone who will listen is, you need to be talking about this. People need to know what steps you're taking. You have a lot of authority. If you're using it, tell us. If you're not using it, you need to get busy using it. One of those things is making sure that remember this, we do not have a single voting technology system used in America today that is not made in whole or in part in China. China is a foreign adversary. We now have identified, they have all the threat identification they need. And when I say they, I'm talking about Commerce, to impose and invoke regulations that were adopted and finalized during the Biden administration. President Trump started it in 2019. Those regulations were finally published and finally became law in 2024. And it provides that the use of any technology that is derived from, it's come from, and it lists the countries, China is one of them, that the Secretary of Commerce can order mitigation and changes in the way that technology is used. It's not just the acquisition. The law says the use of that technology. So the use of the voting systems that we have that are used in every jurisdiction in America is subject to those regulations. They need to be telling the American people and election officials in every one of the counties in America, every one of the states, here's how we're going to make sure that they're not able to screw with the election this fall. That's what I'm waiting for. They have the authority right now to do that. And I'm waiting for Markwayne Mullin and Howard Lutnick to announce what they are doing and to instruct every state election official and say, here's how we're going to do this.
Hang on. You're going to stick through the break. What Cleta is saying is that, hey, your national security emergency, hey, maybe. You guys work on that. The SAVE Act, it ain't happening. But there's plenty of authorities already that certain cabinet heads have, particularly DHS and Commerce, that they could effectuate, and not just that could, they must put into action to guarantee at least a modicum of fairness in the upcoming midterm elections. Short break. Cleta on the other side.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, there's a piece in the New York Times, Bloomberg, behind Bessent's moves. And remember, Bloomberg is the news service. It's the TV channel, and I recommend, particularly as you get more up to speed on things, the channel itself has actually got great financial news on it. But they have this device that sits on the desk of all bond trades. That's how Bloomberg ended up being worth $90 billion. Bloomberg's got a story, behind Bessent moves, Wall Street sees sign of bond market angst. This is the move in Japan. As we said, that yes, they're our ally. They're central to the fight against the anti-CCP to stop China from becoming a hegemon in East Asia, the Central Pacific, all of it. That's all correct. And there's a close relationship with President Trump and the prime minister, as it was with Abe and the president. Yes, but the central fact of that is to protect the U.S. Treasuries market, as we told you. The bond market has turfed out more governments in history than howitzers. So watch the bond market. Now, what does that mean for you? That means you have to understand the connection between the bond market, right, the largest capital market in the world, and gold. Well, how do I do that, Steve? You can do it for free with something that's taught in graduate schools of finance. I'm so proud of that. Graduate schools of finance now take the end of the dollar empire and they make it part of their curriculum. Why is that? It's very accessible, how we've gone back since the beginning of the Republic, and talk to you about how populist economic policies, economic nationalism, gold as a hedge against times of financial turbulence. And we've had some turbulence in this country. Right after the Civil War, we had a huge crash, probably as bad as the Great Depression, 1873, and driven by, guess what, kind of speculative investment in, wait for it, railroads, the artificial intelligence of its day. Understand all that. Totally free, End of the Dollar Empire. Birchgold.com/Bannon, End of the Dollar Empire. 8 free installments, and the 9th free installment is coming shortly. So go check and talk to Phil Patrick team. And you get, even if you never buy gold, it's a great lesson in why gold's been a hedge and how world financial markets move. We're very proud of it. Go check it out today. Cleta. I'm going to get to Talking Points memo, because Cleta, you're in the heads of the smartest people on the left. Talking Points memo is written by a team over there. They're very smart about separating out signal from noise. It's not a place that runs around with its hair on fire. And man, you are living rent-free in their head. But I got to ask you, as you see it right now, because you're kind of the person people turn to, as you see it right now, given everything we've worked on, everything has been revealed. The FBI and DNI were down in Fulton County months ago. You've now had these massive revelations on a primetime address from the East Wing of the White House. As you see it now, given how the Rhino Republican Party doesn't want to deal with this, but it must be dealt with, are you comfortable right now, 8 days away from the midterm elections, that the midterm elections are going to be safe and secure, ma'am?
Not unless, I will not be comfortable unless the Department of Commerce exercises its responsibility to make sure that the voting machines accurately capture the votes of the American people and reflect the will of the American people. They have the authority to do that, the power to do that. They need to be working with the election officials to make sure that there are manual confirmations of what is produced by the voting technology. They have to do that. They have the authority. They need to get busy and do it. DHS has been doing a lot of good things over the last year under the radar. Well, I would say not under the last year, under the last 6 months. They have finally realized their role in protecting our elections as critical infrastructure. And so there are things this administration still can do. Now, the left has done everything they can do to block all of the steps the president has been trying to take by executive order. But interestingly enough, there are few little glimmers where at least one court is saying, well, the president has the authority to make sure that ballots are not delivered to addresses that don't exist, et cetera, et cetera. that's a big step forward. We just have to keep pressing forward with the Postal Service. And, that's a big problem because the chairman of the board of governors of the U.S. Postal Service is a rabid left-winger who did run the National Vote at Home Institute, which wants to get rid of polling places altogether. She's the chairman of the board of governors of the U.S. Postal Service. She was one of the very first nominees for anything that Biden sent forward in January of 2021. So, yes, there are things that can be done, and we have to do those things, but I do not see the movement yet by the administration, public movement, to do some of these things. And my view is just keep doing it, start doing it. Marc Elias and the left-wing crazies who want corrupt elections, they want corrupt elections. They don't want the people to have the voice. They want the establishment. They want themselves to have the voice. So they're going to fight everything. Just move forward, keep doing it.
Just help me out
keep
here.
After it.
I want to turn to this talking points memo because it's very important, and I want to just at least get it out there, and we'll have you back on and go in more depth. But just one more time, it's been drilled down on us that DHS had the responsibility of the machines, all this. How does Commerce, once again, just take a minute, how does Commerce fit into this? And Lutnick's never been mentioned as a player in this. Is somebody informed the secretary that this is his responsibility? What specifically does Commerce have in the ecosystem of the electronic voting machines?
Commerce has the statutory oversight of what they call technology transfer. They have a whole division of the Department of Commerce whose responsibility it is to address the issues of technology that is manufactured and then shipped to the United States in the private sector. Commerce has this responsibility to make certain, and there are particular regulations that have to do with technology that originates, as I say, in whole or in part, in one of the countries that is defined as adversarial to the United States.
I thought that given certain revelations and certain change of ownership, that Dominion and these other companies, that the technology that came from Venezuela and that came from China has been eliminated. Is that not the case? Are we still relying upon foreign technology?
That is, honestly, that whole thing with where No Ink, the electronic poll pad company, has acquired Dominion, that whole thing should be investigated by the Department of Justice. I mean, it stinks to high heaven. That wasn't a real acquisition, and it doesn't change one thing about where the Dominion machines are manufactured as of this moment. And there are no machines. There are no voting machines in the United States that are manufactured completely in the United States using parts completely manufactured in the United States. And we know the vulnerabilities have been well documented. So we know the threat, we know the vulnerabilities that triggers a responsibility because elections are critical infrastructure that triggers mitigation and steps that have to be taken by the Department of Commerce to address those vulnerabilities. And I'm just saying, let's get to it. Let's get to it now. Now, I promise you, by tomorrow morning, Marc Elias's daily newsletter is going to be hair on fire about me saying this. And I don't care because I know they want corrupt elections. I know they would prefer to have communists controlling the outcome from afar of our elections. That's what they want. We're here to say no. We want to make sure that that does not happen and that the election machinery is subjected to manual confirmation and that we are sure that they are not manipulating the outcome of the election.
Is Commerce Secretary Lutnick, has he been do you know if he's actually been informed of this, or is this something that's even on their plate?
I have no idea. I do know that I raised this question to the White House in January. And the response that I got back was, well, they don't normally do this because this is the machines have already been acquired. And my response was, tell them to go back and reread the regulations because it talks about the use of technology that has already been acquired. It's not just the acquisition. It is also the use. and that can be regulated and subject to oversight by the Department of Commerce. So I don't know the answer to your question as to what they've been informed. They said, we don't normally do this. I don't care if they normally don't do this. They need to do this. This is their responsibility. And I would call on Secretary Lutnick today to make sure that he is taking steps to actually protect our elections, as he has the statutory and regulatory responsibility and authority to do.
I do want to turn to, and I'd like to hold you just to the break for a minute, but I definitely, if we can put up on the screen, and then I'll come back to Cleta, but on the screen is this Talking Points memo, a story worth 4 writers and investigators. 4. That is how, that's how they put 4 of their best people on this. The headline is How Cleta Mitchell Continues to Make Herself Relevant in the Election Meddling Universe. Actually, Cleta, our audience would say how Cleta Mitchell continues to be at the forefront of making sure that we have free and fair elections. It's broken down into pieces. The first one is still meddling. The second part is an MBA and a failed idea. Anyway, the past is also primed, so we're going to get to all that on Talking Points memo. We're going to make sure Grace and everybody get it out. It's a must read. Tax Network USA, TNUSA, the number is 866-513-5516. We're coming up on the October deadline if you got an extension. Here's what they're prepared to do for the October 15th deadline. They will pull your federal tax return and your entire IRS file, which if you filed, that you can designate them to get access to for $49, do a complete analysis for you, and then for $300, file your taxes. Make sure you take advantage of this. I'll have more to say about this after we get back from a break.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, with the Tax Network team, just call 866-513-5516. If you got the extension to October, that's going to be here sooner than you think. With your approval, they can go and pull your tax file. They've got an entire file on you that they can get access to and then start working through what you filed for the extension. That's $49. So, I mean, to get a professional opinion on that, it's worth its weight in gold for you. $49. Then for about $300, I think it is, but talk to them. They can then actually file the taxes so you make it by the extension. So don't let that extension slip by, because there's obviously fees, penalties, all that. So make sure you check it out today. 866-513-5516, Tax Network USA. Cameron Kinsey, who was in President Trump's first term, is making all this available over there. So we got to thank her. One more time, 866-513-5516. If you ask for an October extension, don't let it slip. You've been given warnings. Let's get on it. Action, action, action. Cleta, this Talking Points memo, and like I said, these are some of the smartest people on the left. They really go after you. In the first part of the chapter, still meddling. It's about Cleta and everything she does on the War Room and all her other activities at the Election Integrity Network. But it gets deeper than that. You're living rent-free in their head, but that's not the only. Another super professional, deep investigative is ProPublica. They're doing a big piece on you. And here's the reason. They know that you're speaking to one of these. It's the railhead of so many of the problems, the stolen 2020 election, and this mess that our election system is in, and how the left has fought tooth and nail to stop it because, Mandami wins with, 80% of his voters being foreign born, quote unquote. Same thing's happening in Dearborn, Michigan, all of it. This is the only way that they can take over the country is this way. And they understand that, like Horatio on the bridge, Cleta Mitchell stands right there. So, Cleta, your response, we're pushing these all out. I want people to read them all, because when they fear you, they go after you. And when they really fear you, the smartest, like Talking Points memo and ProPublica, not the Huffington Post and this crap, serious people on the left who are seriously concerned about Cleta Mitchell. Your response, ma'am, thoughts and observations.
Well, number one, I do think it's the thing I'm most interested in is they've got a new name now, election meddling. Remember, we've been election deniers for 5 years. Now we're election meddlers, because I think that, as John Solomon's work is proving, we may be denied. They're the ones who are the deniers. They're the ones who are not seeing the truth and the facts, because they've tried to keep us silent. They've gaslighted us. But the fact of the matter is, none of that is working. So now we're meddling. That's the first thing. But as I have said to these people, it's not me. It is my strength is not Cleta Mitchell. What I have done, what I've worked on the last 5 years, is mobilizing American citizens to be able to have a say and final say over their election processes. Just like parents have learned they cannot just leave it to the school boards and leave it to the teachers, that they've got to be involved in their children's education, and they've got to know what's going on in the libraries. They got to know what the curriculum is. They got to know what's happening in the restrooms and the sports teams. And that's the way it is with elections. We cannot any longer leave it to the left. They have had this as their playground, this being the election system, for 30, 40, 50 years, with none of us. Well, I've been working on it, but me and about 5 people. But now everybody wants to say, no, we're not going to let you have our elections. We're going to fight back. That's why they hate me, because I have tried to engage, mobilize, educate the American people. And we have this vast network of citizen patriots all over this country. Many members of the posse are engaged in activities in their home states and their counties, and they hate that. And that's why we have to keep doing it. And the fact that they have been unsuccessful in making us go away, they couldn't get me indicted. They'll probably try to do that again after President Trump leaves office, because they were very upset they couldn't get me indicted before. There was nothing to be indicted for, but they managed to indict nearly 100 people anyway who were supporters of President Trump. And they're trying to destroy our country, and I'm not going to let them without a fight. And that's why they hate me. But I don't like them either. So it's mutual.
Cleta, where do people go to keep up with you? Social media, the Election Integrity Network. Where I want people to go that don't follow you. You have a vast following from the Warren Posse, but these news breaks are coming every day, because we only got 80 some days to sort this mess out, right. And it's far from sorted. And if it's to get sorted, Cleta Mitchell will be in the middle of it. So where do you go, ma'am?
All right. You can follow me on X, just at Cleta Mitchell. And then also go to our website, electionintegritynetwork.org. And then on X and in Facebook and Instagram, you can follow the Election Integrity Network at EI Watchdogs. EI Watchdogs is on X, and Election Integrity Network on Facebook. Sign up. We published, I'm sure one of the things that these lefties are going crazy over is that we have published the Model Election Laws Handbook, which is available on Amazon for $17.76. And you've got a hard copy, paperback version that has all the laws that we need, all the resources to support those laws. We're going to update it every quarter because things change. But the fact of the matter is, we are arming the American people with the tools necessary to get our elections back under the control of the people and away from the control of these left-wing crazies who want corruption, they want fraud, they want no accountability, they don't want the numbers of ballots to match the number of votes, and they don't want the number of voters to match the number of votes. I mean, these people have wrecked our elections, and they're mad that we're not going to let them get away with it without a fight.
Cleta Mitchell, thank you, ma'am. Fight on. You're a patriot and a hero.
Thank you so much, Steve. So are you.
Amazing. Okay, everybody, we'll read that talking points memo. Immerse yourself in it. Birch Gold, take your phone out. Text Bannon, BANNON, 989898. Easiest way, simplest way to get access to all the totally free, no obligation information from Birch Gold. Now that gold's a little on fire, but that's not the reason. Know about it as the still point in turning financial world of ups and downs, particularly, as we said earlier, the bond market. We just intervene in Japan to make sure that we can stabilize it and that they don't cough up U.S. government securities bonds, because we need them as we finance these massive deficits. That's over the Bloomberg story I put up early in the day. We're having a little technical issue. We're getting Todd Bensman right up. Todd Bensman joins us. We had a little technical issue. Todd, I'm glad you're up. I want to get to this because I got Matt Boyle in the next hour from Greece. and we're going to get into the situation of what happened in, is it Spanish Morocco? You've got a very interesting take on this, Bensman, and you know this area pretty well. You're saying this thing was solved by the left-wing socialist, not just squish, but open borders guy using Trump tactics. So talk to me before I get on with Boyle. What exactly happened? Is this thing over? Because I saw some, I think, TikToks from some local citizens. The women are sitting there going, I can't even go out of my house because I got all these essentially North Africans wandering around the neighborhood. What's up in Spanish Morocco, and how is this thing solved by using Trump-like tactics?
I mean, the way I judge whether a crisis is on or off is whether they're still coming. There are very few, if any, that are still coming by land or sea to Ceuta. And that is, to me, the litmus test right there. Now, there is mop-up operations. There's still a few thousand that are there. But the vast majority of those 70,000 that came in are now back in Morocco. There's a couple thousand unaccompanied minors. It's basically a mop-up operation at this point. I declare it over, other than for a few, cleanup things that they have to do. But the point that I make in my Daily Signal piece today that just went up this morning is that the very left-wing socialist pro-illegal immigration Prime Minister Sanchez, who all of his career has been a welcome mat to mass illegal immigration, just offered amnesty to 500,000 of them who are there illegally. More than 1 million applied, which tells you how many he's let into that country. That's the kind of guy he is. But when his power is threatened, like it was under the glare of international media with all those thousands and thousands of Allahu Akbaring guys coming into Ceuta, suddenly he needed to do something radically different from his own playbook, and that was to tear a page from the Trump playbook that all socialists and all liberals know is what really stops mass migration, which is to expel them all, to make sure that there is no just reward at the end of the trail for them, that they all have to go home, or the vast majority of them have to go home. And when that happens, this is a universal principle of mass migration. We saw this at our own border for years. If you let them in, they will come through the breach by the millions. If you let them, they will come. If you let them stay, they will come. When Trump got in, he expelled them all. And that ended the border crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border for almost on day one, I'd say, and all the way to the present time. So it's a really simple, almost self-evident rule. It's a universal principle.
Hang on. He did the Sanchez copied Trump in that regard. The issue is they know whether it's in Spanish Morocco or in northern Mexico, or once they get in, once it shifts from absolute border, because remember, Spanish Morocco is separated by the Mediterranean and the Straits of Gibraltar. And Gibraltar is not even it is a part of Spain, but not quite Spain itself. But once they're in, this is why the 1.2 million applied. They only let 500,000 in right now. It's the internal enforcement provisions that's the problem. Once they get through, you're done. Getting them out is laborious and expensive. And that's why no European nations really even taken that on. Some have and somewhat. But these guys understand whether it's in North Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, or coming through to Mexico, or getting in as TPS from Haiti. Once you get inside, once you've breached the wall or the barrier, once you're in, there's been no real political will or appetite to get them out. Has there, Todd?
Right. In Spain, no. Not except in these kind of quasi-Spanish territories. They're disputed. Of course, Morocco says they're theirs, but those that have a little bit more of a hard line, a hard edge to them, that they were thinking, the immigrants were thinking, we're going to get let into the mainland here because of this Supreme Court ruling. and the fact that Sanchez is not deporting our brethren who are already in there. So together, those things, but he kind of threw a surprise on him and did not provide food or shelter, and then brought the military in to create a cordon and then start using truncheons and like forcing them back out over to Morocco. And I think the number is like 60.
If he had
70.
not, if he, we're gonna go to break. I'm gonna hold you through the break. If he had not done this, do you think his government would have fallen? That's why he took the action.
That was an existential political threat. That's when they go Trump. My point is, that's when even the most leftist socialists go Trump.
He went full Trump to say they hate Trump, but they'll go full Trump when they're out to save themselves. Short commercial break. The Todd Bensman with us on the other side.
We rejoice when there's no more. Let's take down the CCP. They have all lied for too long. We will end what they do wrong. Spread the word of the wrong. Come, let's.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
The lesson for Bensman's piece is when they want to save themselves, because Sanchez's government would have fallen, and their open borders guys the worst, they go right back to President Trump's tactics of what he did to save the United States of America. Todd, I've only got a couple of minutes. I know you got to bounce. I want to thank you for doing this in the late afternoon, early evening. The Haitians. There's another raft of stories about MAGA. I think it was the Wall Street Journal. The MAGA enforcers, I think they call us, are putting pressure on the DHS secretary, particularly incensed by the situation with the Haitians. Do you have any updates? I mean, why, Todd? You've worked in the government. You know the mechanics of things. You've been around this topic now for most of your professional life. Why is it taking so long? They got these videos out with guys on ankle bracelets, and they're crying and said, "You can't do this to us." Why are you putting an ankle bracelet on somebody? It's implying he's going to be around for a while. Why are the buses not pulling up and people going to the planes and the planes going back to Haiti, sir?
First of all, the expectation is that without TPS, they are deportable. So deport them. Start arresting and deporting those who are deportable with final orders of removal, all the rest of that. I think that what's happening right now is that there's some hesitation in the administration about the health, I don't know, I guess we'll call it the elder care industry and some other industries which have been putting enormous...
Hang on, are you serious that they actually are buying DeWine's garbage coming out of Ohio? Is your sources telling you they're actually giving that a second thought? Is that just pure speculation?
I don't have insight into that, Steve, but what I'm saying is that there was pressure. There probably still is pressure. That's number one. Number two is that the Haitians and Venezuelans and others that are losing their TPS are fleeing to other legal safe haven tactics. For example, applying for defensive asylum, which gum it up a little bit. That means that you can maybe pick them up, but you might not be able to deport them right away if they have an asylum claim. There's other things happening about that.
How can they have an asylum claim? Hang on. They just lost a temporary permanent status. How can they have an asylum claim? They can't just get them on a plane and get them out of here. That's just people in the administration looking for an excuse not to ship these folks out.
Well, the other thing is that I have heard is that there are plans to start arresting and deporting those that they legally can. So my expectation, and I think yours as well, is that go round them up and start flying them out, either to the countries that they were living in before.
Let them make the argument from Haiti. Let them make the argument from Venezuela. Let them make the argument from everywhere. Send them. If you got an argument, put a stamp on it and send us a note. That's where they round them all up. And the administration got to show some stones here, right? They all have to go. It's practical, but it's symbolic. If we can't even do this after 16 years, I mean, this is when people get depressed and don't vote. The administration has to understand this, that people are watching this and they're watching rhinos like DeWine try to protect them, or the healthcare industry try to protect them. It's not good enough. Todd, anyway, Todd, I want to do this. You got another huge story you're working on Tallarico, correct?
Yeah, I mentioned in the break I was going to write an analysis of his border policies that he's claiming. You know, he always says he's known for saying we're going to put a welcome mat at the border, but the door's going to be locked, which is sort of contradictory to me and not nuanced. Some people think, oh, it's brilliantly nuanced. No, it's not. So I'm going to kind of dig down into that. And what I'm going to tell you about that is that he's an open borders guy, full stop open borders guy. His plan, when you dig down into the things that he says, Tallarico, is that, you know, yes, we're gonna welcome them to apply for asylum. We'll quickly adjudicate those asylum claims, and then he leaves it at that. But they're only going to deport the hardcore convicted criminals, which tells you everybody else gets in. That's open borders.
Where do they go? Because I want to come back and have a more detailed discussion on this Haitian thing, and we'll make sure that you and I can go through it. Also, your Tallarico piece. Where do folks go? Get your writings. Where are they following on social media?
Right. Well, it's at Todd Bensman on X and Getter and Truth Social. So you can go to the Heritage Foundation and find my page there and get most of my recent writings. ToddBensman.com has all my media and writings on it too.
Unbelievable.
Including a bunch of hits I did for you.
Todd, you're amazing. Thank you. And thank the folks at Heritage too. Really appreciate you. Trevor Comstock, let's finish the first hour of the late afternoon, early evening edition. Matt Bowles is going to be joining us from Greece next. What do you got for us at Sacred Human Health, sir?
Yeah, great to see you, Steve. Today, I just wanted to highlight our flagship product, which of course is our 100% grass-fed beef liver. Just because I know, after all these years, there's still a ton of people that aren't familiar with the benefits of beef liver, and they don't know just, how powerful beef liver is when it comes to overall nutrition. But oftentimes it is called nature's multivitamin for a pretty good reason. And that's just because it is one of the most powerful superfoods on the planet. And it is packed with highly bioavailable nutrients within it. So you'll get things like iron, zinc, vitamin A, CoQ10, folate. The list kind of goes on and on. But all these nutrients are essential for things like healthy skin, hair, heart, immune system, as well as brain function. But then with the beef liver, to take it a step further, it is also, or contains many other critical vitamins and minerals that a lot of people are deficient in. So within it, you'll get things like choline, K2, selenium, and copper. And then lastly, of course, one of the biggest things people tend to notice is just the natural energy boost they get after taking it. So, we get flooded on a daily basis with reviews and emails from folks just letting us know how much their energy levels have improved and how great they feel afterwards. So it's always a major bonus, and I think why people love the product so much. But of course, it is a whole food supplement, so your body can actually obtain and absorb these nutrients as opposed to just flushing them out, like if they were taking a synthetic multivitamin. So right off the bat, you're getting a much better bang for your buck. And then last but not least, I wanted to mention that we third-party lab test all of our products, especially the beef liver. There's no fillers within it or anything synthetic, so it's pretty powerful.
Where do they go right now? I want them to read the reviews, immerse themselves. These reviews are amazing. Where do they go?
Yeah, you can go to sacredhumanhealth.com. And then, as always, you can use code WARROOM for 10% off any one-time order.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Appreciate the company. Matt Boyle from Greece next in the War Room.
We're united, strong, and free.